When the Curse of Faces was unleashed upon the world, the entire human species was almost instantly erased from existence forever. All throughout the continent, if any person saw another's face, both would die. And those who were lucky enough to survive lived in fear without any explanation for the widespread devastation. For hundreds of years, humanity lived on the brink of total extinction, until, by some miracle, a savior appeared. A man, known only as the Maker, had finally discovered why humans would instantly perish whenever they met, and devised a simple but effective way to protect against the horrific power of the curse: masks. Word spread quickly, and it wasn't long before humanity began to rebuild their world in the wake of such a calamity. Such an overwhelming undertaking couldn't happen overnight, however, and it would be many hundreds of years before a lone warrior would make his pilgrimage to the land of Yariv and set in motion the events of Verho, Curse of Faces. In our last journey behind the mask, the great Oriun Empire, founded by those who worshipped the Maker as a god, had begun expanding, building an army to conquer those who didn't share in their reverence for humanity's savior. Conscientious objectors from Oriun fled to the south, and, after a decade-long war with the great snakes of the southern deserts that ended in an eventual truce, founded the Kingdom of Moiger. All the while, people from every corner of the world began to rebuild, and soon, other nations that were thought to have been lost to time rose from the ashes of destruction. The great Kingdom of Haravel, once the mightiest nation in all the land, was perhaps the most devastated by the Curse of Faces. Its huge population and sheer size proved to be its downfall, as none of its inhabitants could travel very far without encountering another human being and succumbing to the effects of the curse. While almost no one was left alive when the curse was unleashed, the extensive records of Haravel's history and customs remained. If it had not been for the pride of the Haravelian people, any knowledge of the time before the Curse of Faces would have been forgotten forever. That's not to say that everything survived, of course. Centuries of neglect and ruin without anyone alive to maintain the vast collections of knowledge left most of the records rotted or destroyed by the ravages of time. By the time humanity was able to rebuild their lost civilization, only a small portion of these records still existed. The small collection of historical literature and descriptions of the old Haravelian customs proved to be enough, however, and the people of Haravel used the memories of their ancestors to slowly and meticulously return their fallen nation to a semblance of its former glory. Because of Haravel's respect for and adherence to the old ways of their people, however, the process to rebuild was slow, allowing the neighboring Oriun Empire to expand well into parts of the continent that were once under Haravelian control in the time before the curse. While historically this would have been seen by the Haravelians as a reason for war, the Oriun Empire had simply grown too large for there to be any hope of a successful invasion, leading them to instead seek peace through diplomacy. By that time, the Oriun Empire had become known as a nation of zealots, whose violent crusades in the name of the Maker left nothing in their path. Their rapid expansion caused neighboring nations to live in fear of impending invasion, with some smaller towns and settlements surrendering preemptively in order to protect their people. So, when the Haravelian ambassadors arrived in Oriun in an attempt to broker a peace treaty between the two nations, many were skeptical that an agreement could be reached. Coincidentally, however, it was around this time that scholars managed to trace the origin of the Curse of Faces to the Old Kingdom of Yariv, which also happened to only be accessible by passing through Haravel. Despite Oriun having the means to invade and conquer Haravel, the Great Empire knew that doing so would leave their forces heavily wounded and unable to defend against any other nation should they choose to revolt against the tyrannical empire. This, coupled with the discovery of the curse's origins, led to Oriun agreeing to Haravel's peace treaty, and subsequently, the first expedition into Yariv. It wasn't long before Oriun sent a caravan of 72 soldiers and scholars alike along the routes of the great mountains that surrounded Yariv, passing through Haravel to the mouth of Yariv. Along the way, several Haravelians joined the caravan as well, eager to uncover the true origin of the Curse of Faces, and perhaps find a cure. Hopeful and well prepared, the caravan entered, with people from both Oriun and Haravel seeing the heroes off on their quest. What they didn't know was that once those brave souls entered, they would never be seen again. Meanwhile, despite its uncharacteristically diplomatic relations with Haravel, Oriun's crusade continued. With their expansion to the west now blocked by their treaty, the Empire set its sights elsewhere, sending expeditions south to the Kingdom of Moigur, and to the east, which, even before the curse was unleashed, remained a mystery. If you would like to make your own expedition into Yariv, wishlist Verho Curse of Faces on Steam, and don't forget to subscribe to continue our journey behind the mask. Thank you all for watching.